All right, so I guess it's safe to say that will be the mother of all battles, huh? Okay. So, on our fact check segment tonight, we want to take a look at the rate of unemployment in the country, and we'll be checking the claims by somebody who is quite senior and should know these figures. So, let's get our segment started. We have with us, as always, Alphonse Shundu, who's the Kenya editor for Africa Check. Welcome. It's good to have you with us again.
Thank you, Yvonne.
All right, so let's get right into it. Now, we know unemployment is a big conversation and actually will be one, yes?
Yes.
Possibly one of the issues on the table when voters go to decide in just 71 days. So let's take a look at this statement that was made on Labor Day by Wilson Sossion, who is not only for the National Union of Teachers, but he's actually the Trade Union Congress of Kenya General Secretary. So this is what he had to say. Statistics indicate that Kenya's unemployment rate currently stands at approximately 70% from just 12% in 2006. So before we even start debunking this, Alphonse, what does this figure mean exactly? 70% is huge, isn't it?
Yes, when you look at this and he says 70%, it means 7 out of every 10 Kenyans who are qualified to work and have actively looked for work, they have come out empty. So they are idle. They are
7
unemployed.
out of 10.
7 out of every 10.
Okay, so that's a huge number, and that's why it's definitely worth checking, isn't it?
Yes.
So did you ask Sossion about this statement and where he got his figures from?
He is the Secretary General of, the General Secretary of the Trade Unions Congress. Now, that is teachers, lecturers, civil servants. So we asked him, could you share these figures? So he told us he got it from the World Bank and from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. So we asked him to, we have checked the World Bank, we have checked with the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, we can't find these figures.
All right.
Would you please share your source?
Okay, so then let's see what data is available and what we actually do know about the state of unemployment, because this was his statement. So let's get started with this one, shall we? This is from 2012. Which is the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics after the census, talking about 9.7 overall unemployment rate. So tell us about this and why we don't have the latest data.
All right. This data, the last time we did a census was 2009.
Yeah.
So 3 years later, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics analyzed the census data to get the details of the labor in Kenya, labor force in Kenya. So what they came out with was that 9.7% was the unemployment rate. So roughly 1 in every 10 people who have looked for work don't have jobs.
So this is a far cry from the 70%.
Yes.
But do we hope to have some new data, some fresh data on this? And why is it hard to sort of get data on the state of employment or lack thereof in the country?
We spoke to a director at the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and he explained to us that they have put together the Kenya Integrated Household Budget Survey, and they're still working on the final stats. So they should release the report in a month or two, but he said in a month. So we will wait for that.
So that's from the National Bureau of Statistics.
So why we
sorry, you were going to
why
say?
we finding it hard to gauge these numbers? The statisticians explain that when they go out to ask people, are you engaged in any economic activity? Are you employed? Most of the people say, yes, I am. What kind of work do you do? I am a businessman.
Right.
So what kind of work do you do? I hawk.
Because Kenyans find something to do, even if it's not formal employment as we know it.
Yes.
Okay, so let's put the National Bureau of Statistics figures aside. You did get some other sources of info, right?
Yes, we
World
went
Bank
to the
data, for
World
example.
Bank,
Yeah, so let's explain this one then.
Now, this is the pool of the labor force in Kenya, according to the World Bank. This is like the people who have the skills, are available for the market, and they are looking for jobs. Some of the people in this portion are employed. The latest data from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, from the Economic Survey 2017, says that this figure is around 16.6 million, the people who are in wage employment. Yes. Now, there are other figures within for the World Bank, which put this figure at 17.94.
Right.
Yes. So,
okay. And there's also something I believe we've got from the International Labour Organization,
yeah.
which the World Bank used in their data. We'll see that in just a moment. It's about, what, 11%?
Yes. So, they, using that data, the World Bank gets an unemployment rate, the current unemployment rate of 11%.
Okay.
You know, people would look at it as if we are talking numbers.
Yeah.
Now, these are real jobs in terms of numbers.
Real people.
Real people.
Yeah.
It's 2 million. We are talking, according to an analysis that was done by the Institute of Economic Affairs, Kenya, using the ILO and the World Bank data.
Yes.
They found out that right now we have around 1.98 million people who don't have jobs. They are unemployed.
Right.
So when the government had a pledge to employ a million people every year,
yes,
they would have employed 5 million people now. Yes,
okay, so
but
that's
they have
interesting.
only done 2.2 million.
Only 2.2 million
Yes.
since that time. But then there was
Yes.
also the UNDP data. So I just want to show our viewers that we made every attempt to talk to as many people and get as many facts as possible, so we can actually see where Sosion's sort of claim falls. So this is from the UNDP, the Human Development Report,
Yes.
putting it at 9.7%.
9.7%.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. So after all of this then, did you then go back to Sosion and tell him, okay, so we've looked at a number of reports,
Yes,
none of them seems to tally?
we called him to remind him that
Right.
we are still waiting for his data, and he told us somebody is going to send it to us, but we didn't get it. He hasn't sent it to us. There is a report that we came across that we thought maybe that is what he was referring to. Some report about the age group 15 to 34.
15 to 34, yes.
Yes, that had an employment rate of 67%.
Right.
But then when you look at the Human Development Index by the UNDP, it gives you a 17.6% youth unemployment. So we think he was a bit off.
Quite off the mark.
Yes.
Okay, so before we even get to whether this claim is correct, misleading or not, why does this matter though? Because we're talking about this. He's saying 70% is the rate of unemployment, which you said is 7 out of 10 Kenyans who can work, who look for work and don't find it. A number of them, if you take a look at the average, it would be what, 12 to 15? I think of all the figures that we've seen from the ILO, from the World Bank, from the UNDP, from IEA here in Kenya, you know, the average is 15%, I would say, quite roughly. Why does it matter, though? Why should we be talking about this?
These figures matter because the first thing why we check this claim, he's making the claim on Labor Day in front of all the policymakers who deal with labor. So when he makes that claim and it goes unchallenged, you can imagine if they pick it and start using it as a basis for policy formulation.
Right.
So it's a really important number that you don't just throw it out there. You have to use it, you have to have your facts right.
Because it informs policy.
It informs policy.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
So no doubt unemployment is an issue in this country, may even be something that Kenyans will think about on the 8th of August. But was Sosion's claim that 70% of Kenyans are unemployed, was that statement true?
No, it was incorrect. Okay. We rated it incorrect, and that is what we have now.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So there you go. Incorrect. That statement, if you can go back to the very first one, where Sosion, who's the General Secretary of the Trade Union Congress, this one right here, that unemployment stands at 70%, is incorrect. All right?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much for doing this and telling us why it matters.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even on more details about the explanation and the breakdown and all of the sources of data that we have used, we have declared them on africacheck.org and at AfricaCheck on Twitter and on Facebook, AfricaCheck. We have all that information there. If you follow us, we have you can find the full report.
Yeah. So you can read much more on all of this, the breakdown and how they arrived at this verdict. That's africacheck.org. Thank you very much. You can continue to tweet us as you do every week. In fact, there's one about a statement that was made by Joho. Was it today or yesterday? Yeah, about the Mombasa port being sold to Arabs. Yeah, we're working on all of these claims that you send in. As you do know, it takes quite a bit of time for Alphonse and his team to take a look at all the data that is available. So, at Shiundu, at Yvonne Aquara, at Africa Check. If you want us to fact check anything for you, and if you want to take a look at this report, africacheck.org. Thank you very much. Alphonse Shiundu is the Kenya editor for Africa Check. We'll be taking a look at another statement and telling you why it matters that our leaders say the right thing and that they're factual. It does matter, folks. All right, thanks. All right, so we want to take a break. Our